do something. Not sure what, but we're going to do something. I'm Sherelle Dunn, Dr. Dunn, Dean Dunn, everything except a dirty word, and sometimes I get called one of those. So, we're going to talk about perceptions. And we're going to explore how your perceptions impact the students in your class, and how your perceptions and their perceptions impact their learning. It's something that is covered in many ways in topics that you probably already discussed, but I want to kind of bring it together. The first slide said it's how you organize what you see, what you perceive. Richard Gregory and Douglas Bernstein state that perceptions can be shaped by learning, memory, and expectations. We're going to talk more about expectations a bit later. The brain attempts to make sense of all input that enters the brain, and we all know that. You know that when you take a look at a calculus problem, or when you take a look at a chart or a graph. You try to visualize and make sense of it. This is one of the most famous. What do you see?
Two faces and a cup.
Okay. What did you see first?
Two faces.
I've seen it so many times, but I saw what it is.
But do you know what you saw first? What do you think you would see first?
Probably the faces, yeah.
Huh?
Probably the faces.
All right. And the person who looks at it for the first time, what do you think they will see?
Probably the faces.
Okay. Now, I'm going to do a few things, and you're going to have to do some writing. So, what I want you to do is to
Right here.
write it so that you can. All right.
Oh, do you want to?
Way to come to class prepared.
All right. Tell me what you perceive. What do you see? Just write it down.
Looking at you or
Mhm.
looking at you?
Yes.
I don't want to go into the questions. It's confusing.
Are you changing expression or is the same one?
I'm doing all kinds of things.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Was done percent.
All right. Next. Okay, and then the last one. Okay. Tell me what you wrote.
Where? All
All three. First one, second one, third.
First one, brown hat, face, glasses, white shirt, woman. Second one, hand on chin, looks puzzled slash inquisitive. Third one, open mouth, looks surprised, wide eyes.
All right. Next.
Oh, sorry. First one was posture and articles of clothing and fit, didn't detail any of those. Different posture and demeanor, possibly concern, touching face and chin. The second one and the third one is I heard a gat, mouth engaged and eyes wide, possibly surprised.
All right.
First one, woman in white dress with a beautiful hand making half angry, half face. Second one, lost in thought but still present in the now. Third one was flabbergasted.
Okay.
The first one, a woman with a stern face. Second one, pensive, thoughtful, lost in thoughts. Third one, surprised, amazed.
Okay. Now, what contrast did you see between what you all described? Well, you specifically
Yeah.
Well,
were describing,
yeah, in the first one I had your clothing.
Right, physically, yes, yes.
Yeah,
You had clothing.
you had clothing in the first one, yeah.
I was
okay.
going to have clothing.
Okay. And you had more,
Of your expression.
you saw my emotions and my expressions. Okay? And a lot of folks, when they see someone do this, what do they see? What do they think that? Say it out loud.
Superman.
Huh?
Superman.
Everybody agree?
I
No.
wouldn't make that connection necessarily.
Okay.
I
But,
understand the Superman thing, I get it.
but,
Superman's the same as Superman, the first one.
say it out loud. I gotta hear it. Say it out loud.
Superhero, she's a bad show.
Say it out loud.
Superman's a bad character.
Well, I like Superman right now.
But,
I don't make that connection between that posture and Superman because I see that posture in a lot of other situations.
Like
okay,
one.
like, yes.
Like, I mean, I was in sports for 10 years and that's a position people take when they're catching their breath a lot. They take weight off their shoulders by putting their hands like
It's
this,
more like this.
on the head.
Yeah.
No, if you bend over, you're dead.
Exactly. I'm stunned.
Okay, but what about my facial expression? Did that give you,
I didn't say a thing about facial expression on that.
okay,
I was trying to figure out the whole picture.
all right. And the third one. And if I had sat down rather than stand and have done this,
Like you're waiting.
They didn't know what we talked
all right. What's the difference between what I'm doing and, see,
She's a hand covered.
She is listening, you are thinking.
say that?
She is listening, and you are thinking.
Okay. And these are all kinds of views
Such.
that you will see in a classroom. And where you take them could mean a big difference for the student. The other thing is, I'm observing you as well. And Ms. Gaston, hit the nail on the head. And if you were a teacher and someone said, right, If you were in my place and nobody was ready, what would you think?
Should give them time to get ready.
Okay,
I don't think they were prepared for class.
that's a possibility.
They wouldn't expect you to be certain classes.
Literally, my first thought is that the students don't care enough to come prepared to class.
Yes,
I really do think, like, my first thought as a teacher, if I ask you to pull out a piece of paper and you don't have paper, I know for a fact that I think, wow, I'm glad you guys came to class prepared. Like, why are you sarcastic? Like, I don't know.
That's not my first time.
That's what this is about, perception.
perception. So you gotta keep those in mind. Now, what I want you to do is take a few minutes, or a minute or two, and write down your perception of college students,
Not graduate or
not just undergraduate students.
undergraduate specifically.
All right. Now, I want you to tell me your perception of engineering students.
¿Cuántas escolas? 4 years. 4 years college, right?
4 years.
All right, now I want you all to work together, look at your list, tell me what you had in common for the college student and for the engineering student, and then what you had in common for the, first look at college student, engineering student, and then what you had in common for both. Okay? So go to it.
Working force. Young. Yes. Energetic, wild. Carefree. Want to have fun. Sometimes excited to learn. So I have at least this is a good waste of time and effort. Most of the time you gotta learn. Don't know how to study yet. Yes. Back to the food, is always putting in the other Nice. So that, those you do on life, they're not prepared to get things. Going into that without realizing it. And to the point of view of college. Yeah, they've been taken advantage of every way. Everyone seems they have, they can take money from college students that don't have it. Disrespectful, like without regard for other people. Hardworking, sometimes miserable. It's true. Intelligent. Work hard, play hard. Yes. Motivated. So, they can overcome challenges. Critical thinkers. They are. Everything that I said about negative about college students are busy or reflect positive things. They're more likely to get a job and be able to get, but they're more responsible and just less time to act responsibly. Yes. Oh, yeah. Seems like there's yeah.
It's on the only thing behind us engineering, that's how we do this one.
You ready? All right. Someone tell me what you saw in common about college students.
We have young,
Young?
excited,
Energetic. Lost.
Lost?
We all have kind of something like wild.
Yeah.
And,
ready to
And
explore.
experience.
don't know how to learn. We don't know how to learn. Yeah. Sometimes ready to explore.
All right, and what about engineering students?
Hardworking, more hardworking.
Yeah, more hardworking. Work hard, play hard. Busy. Busy, but more time exposed, yeah.
What?
Busy, yeah.
Job after graduation.
Yes, job after graduation.
Anything else?
Imaginating.
Those are pretty much the, so when I look at this, I don't see too many comparisons between an engineering student and a regular college student? Based on the list
Well,
you gave me.
yeah, I guess that when I did engineering, yeah, I did engineering students, I tried to stay away from the things that I wrote down for college students, just to try to differentiate them, I guess.
And
Yes.
why would you want to differentiate them?
Because you asked about engineering students and not college students, so I figured I wrote down my stuff for college students. Those also apply to engineering students, some more than others, so I wrote down things that applied more to engineering students and less to college, less to a general college student. To sort of like compare and contrast more between the two.
I literally wrote still everything said above. Like, yeah.
So everything's still applies.
Everything that I wrote about college students still applies. They just have less time to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, same here, just that for engineering students, they work very hard as much as they like to have fun and party like regular college students, but they work harder.
I would add, they work hard on approaching.
So that part of what you're saying is based on your own experience.
I wasn't an engineer.
Feel like you're just these college students.
Yes, I was.
What was your,
I was not.
that's close. That.
I was always in a miserable category.
No,
Okay, but math is, you still had to take chemistry and,
I mean,
those
yeah.
kinds
I
of
was more
things.
focused on biology aspects. I was pretty nerd, so there was no engineering classes for me at all.
Yeah. But the same kinds of learning constructs
Sure.
certainly apply. But the words that you used tell me something in terms of your perceptions of both groups. And having taught for many years at the high school, college level, says to me that these perceptions will play a part in how you interact with the students. Why?
Well,
So,
so yeah, if you, for example, you said they don't know how to learn, they haven't figured out how to assemble information and learn on their own easily. And so if you assume that they have, they're not going to learn anything. If you assume that they can learn on their own as freshmen and sophomores in college, if you're going to teach like they can learn on their own, then they're not going to get anything out of the class.
Okay, what if I told you I started every single chemistry class I took with this phrase? I will teach you absolutely, positively nothing. But I hope I will structure information in such a way that you will learn a lot.
I had a chemistry teacher that said the same thing, but it was when I was a junior.
yeah, I think like the first 2 years of college are the active process of learning how to learn. So then when you get junior, senior year, when you're learning the more pertinent things for your major, then you're finally actually picking things up and learning more rather than struggling through discovering how to learn and how to find things out.
But I mean, even your statement kind of supported what I was saying as far as if they don't know how to learn yet,
Yeah.
your goal is to teach them not information, but teach them how to think about this, then at least that we're supporting.
That's supporting teaching them how to learn.
What, do you think I asked them to memorize the periodic table? No. No. And why?
Just you can look it up in a book if you ever need it.
Right.
Take it on the wall.
And how many places have the teachers covered the periodic table? So the
It's
student-
sometimes applicable to cover it if you need to know certain things, or if there's information on there that you don't want to give
Yes.
away.
Yeah.
But usually, like, if there's things like periodic table or some equations, basic equations, constants, the teacher put it on a test if I need it. They would give me the information I
Also, the
needed to
teachers
do. I
expect
just need to
students to at least know that how many plants of oxygen, carbon, nitrogen. Sometimes people just see that we have the period in front of me, why should we remember those?
Yeah, eventually you just commit it to memory.
And if you use that information so much, what's going to happen?
Memorize.
You're going to know it anyway. I want to share with you. This is a survey where individuals were asked their perceptions about the poor. Poor people are lazy. There's a direct correlation between hard work and how much money you make. If poor people would work harder, they would not be poor. What do you think?
It's partially true, but you can't make a blanket statement like that.
It sounds extremely Republican.
Well,
It sounds extremely Republican.
Yeah.
I can't say one way or the other. I don't know
Yeah.
what their
True or
creation
false
was.
answer.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's like black or white. It's like true or false answer. It's in between.
It's in
For the
between.
most part,
Yeah.
it's not true. Well,
Can
No, I say it's flat out false.
Can we just talk about the fact that his perception is that Republicans think that?
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Like, but it's a perception thing because people that are Republican would say that perception is false. So perceptions
I don't know
play
if they
such a
would.
huge role.
I don't know if they would. They would, not every one of them, obviously, but a lot of them would agree with those statements and say that they're fact.
I agree partially with those statements.
Which part?
Well, you can't make a blanket statement about the poor because they're all different situations with the poor. Some of them are extremely hardworking, just don't have the skills or the education or the aren't in the right area or whatever to find a job. Don't have jobs or something. But some of them are lazy and just want handouts, or have been accustomed to getting handouts and think, all right, well, if I'm just getting this stuff, what's the purpose of me going out to find a job if I'm just going to get stuff anyway? So it's either I work all day and earn money to buy this stuff, or I don't and I get it anyway. So, I mean, there are definitely others who are getting the handouts, but are actively going out trying to find a job, trying to do things, and just either don't have the resources or the skills, or the training, or whatever is needed.
Okay. What's the correlation between that and me saying that in my foundations class, only half the students are smart enough to succeed in this class?
The correlation between his statement and that, or between those statements?
Those statements, his statement, they're all directly related. and you may not like me at the end of this, but boy, I'm going to keep pushing this point. What is the correlation between a classroom and a thought or a perception that half the students in this room?
If you're going with that perception, you're gonna make half of them fail.
Yes. It's called the GOLEM effect.
It's just
Where-
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
The self-fulfilling prophecy, for sure. How many classes are openings, and I've been to several here, where someone gets up and says, look to your left, look to your right. Half of you aren't going to be here. What is that saying?
That tells you that it's okay to fail because you're not alone.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a very different.
I mean, that's what it does. Either you take it as, well, I'm going to work really hard and be the person who succeeds, or you take it as, well, I guess if I don't do it, then it's going, I mean, it was bound to happen anyway. And other people are not going to succeed, so I'll just do what I can and just make sure to, like, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, whatever.
I never thought that.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not mine. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
oh.
But as a professor, okay, what is your responsibility?
When you say that kind of thing,
Mhm.
or just, no, if you say that kind of thing, it's your responsibility to make it true. If you say, well, 1/3 of you's not going to pass this class, or half of you's not going to pass this class, and the first test comes back and it's, everyone has A's and B's, then you need to step up your game. You're like, clearly I didn't write a hard enough test, so next time I have to make something much harder.
And I think also making that kind of statement will also reduce the morale of the students, because you're already telling them, I think what I'm going to teach you is so difficult, and you know, a lot of people don't understand it and you're going to flunk out. So it would also reduce the morale, like, I mean, you're like killing their spirits, they won't be able to grasp. Not that they are
And then
dull.
depending on what type of class you have going in. I mean, if you're teaching like Harvard or somewhere, all these people are used to succeeding, so they'll more will take it as, oh, I need to work really hard to succeed, so I'm going to do that. But I mean, if you go to somewhere else, these people, it may have been like a bag of college that they got into or something, or they may have just squeaked in, or didn't have to try in high school, or weren't as smart in high school, or something like that, you know. So they'll take it as well. It's, I mean, I'm not as smart as the people around me. I guess I'm one of those people bound to fail.
But what is your responsibility for each student in that class?
Your responsibility is to teach them the best you can to make them all succeed. Unless, I mean, that should be your goal. That should be your goal. Your responsibility is
In high school, that's true, but I don't.
to pass the people who deserve to be passed.
I think
to
in
pass the
college,
people who know the
maintaining
information.
the integrity of the program that you're in is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Certainly a priority as well.
Pass the people who know the information.
Yeah.
But what shows, maintains the integrity of the program? Failing 30%, failing 40%?
Not putting out untrained people.
Not allowing people who aren't competent to continue in that program.
Okay, and that's different than what you said right before.
I agree. But
if you say at the beginning half these people aren't going to fail, that means you have predetermined that half the people are not competent to your standards. So you're going to go out of your way to make sure that half these people are not competent to your standards.
right, which has nothing to do with keeping standards at all. It has to do with keeping statistics.
It's not actually judging the people by your standard. It is raising or lowering your standards based on your students.
I guess I have a question. As a professor, the students have already been admitted, and have passed all the standards to get admitted into the college.
They have, but they haven't passed your class.
So why, instead of trying to come up with your own standards outside of the admissions process, why not work to make sure that all of the students are successful because they've already been vetted and have proven that they are capable, because that's why they got admitted in the first place.
I agree with that, but if you open your class with half of you are going to fit, half of you will not pass this class.
Oh, I agree with that
That-
part.
That, I mean, that is,
I would just say not say the statement ever.
well, I would agree with that. I never had any statement in my classes, so.
I think it's
Oh,
absurd.
maybe you hear.
I had that in my
No.
class.
Yeah.
It was true. Actually, it was more true than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, my teachers never said that, so.
All right, next one. Poor people can't be trusted to handle money responsibly. I'm just gonna read these. Poor people should not be allowed to buy non-essential items. Poor people are dumb and don't know what they need. All people in Africa are poor. And sometimes people in Southeast Asia. And
Did actual people say
The
this?
problem-
Yes.
It's
the
a
problem-
real survey.
it's a real
problem
survey.
With this type of survey is that you're making a blanket statement, you're stereotyping. And like that stereotypes they're true, or they're based on some truth, but they don't apply to everyone. So, I don't know.
Okay.
You're also,
I mean, I'm gonna
you're
have
also cherry picking.
Yeah.
No, this is an actual survey.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
but it's all the
What
results of
was
that
it,
survey?
John?
Yeah, there were 9 responses to this. This is an online quick survey where people go to get
And it was done in
information.
the US here,
Huh?
in the US.
Yes.
Oh,
Almost certainly.
And-
Most certainly.
Most certainly. And then this one, I said, wow, I totally know what it's like to be poor. Because right when I graduated from college and didn't have a job. Yes. I didn't have an apartment and had to couch surf and remained and ramen noodles, I guess, for a month. Also, I know what it's like not to be able to afford food. I fasted for 2 days in solidarity.
In solidarity.
Yes.
Whoa. Somebody was an English major, that's why they took your job.
Okay, the point of reading these is that these are perceptions held by many
in the US,
in the U.S.
because it's
Yeah.
different elsewhere.
Yes.
Yes. But those perceptions impact their lives. Those perceptions impact their lives. They can literally destroy a life. When I was dean, the first holiday gift I bought was to the custodian who took care of my office and private bank. Because that lady worked very hard doing a job that I would never want to do. And did it with pride.
Work on this stuff. A lot.
Yes.
Because my family was would be considered poor, and we're all college educated and doctors, and we're still below poverty. So it has nothing to do with intellect or hard work.
And I can translate this into the comments and the jokes I hear professors make about students. And the impact that those jokes and those comments have on what you do in the classroom. And I'm going to keep hammering this point because I really want you to understand. When I walked in this room, I can remember when I was dean and students would come up and after they got to know me and would tell me, "You don't look like a dean."
Students know what the dean looks like? Students know what the dean looks like?
And that's what I ask them. What does a dean look like? What's a dean supposed to look like?
I dean or large sweaters and bow tie.
Hey, I can't.
Classy.
So, but what do we say about students when we say that that student will never graduate? And one of the things that I wanted to always do is to make the student who thought they were in that group that didn't know enough, that everybody else in the class was smarter, understand that he could be or she could be just as smart as everyone else in that classroom.
Would that work for what are essentially the throwaway majors?
What are throwaway majors?
Those majors that people take when they come to college to get a degree and nothing else. In a lot of colleges, it's notorious. It's not necessarily true for UC or any specific college, but it is broadly accepted as the easiest major across the U.S. It's business. And people, I played on a football team.
Yeah,
the reason that people became business majors is because it's the easiest to graduate with.
You look at if you watch college football on any Saturday, you look at the player profiles, they're all business or some other arts and letters. There are very few,
Yeah.
there are very few science,
Some kind of
engineering
management, some kind of
majors.
business, yeah.
And especially if you go down to the big football schools, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida,
And it's
these.
not
Okay,
because they want to be in that.
those are, how can I be kind when I say, when you look at the big ones, they're not interested in necessarily the education and learning of
Is
students.
that
They're
not the
interested.
exact same negative perception that you're accusing us of?
But I think we can have facts to back some of that up.
Well, I think we can have facts to back some of it up as well, as far as not having every student pass, not investing every student, because not every student's going to try to pass.
And hey, I totally agree. My philosophy is 3 strikes and you're out. That's always been my philosophy. Because the initiative has to come from
And
the
so,
student.
all right, and then what do you do with the kids who don't try to succeed, they just try to pass? Like, their goal is to get a D.
C's good
Or,
grades.
yeah, get a
That's
D,
true,
get
yeah.
a C.
C's good
You
grades.
get straight C's all the way through college. You have your degree, and then,
Then I think in some ways that I feel that as a professor. And that's not to say that some young people will always go that way. But my goal is to try to motivate and encourage every student to be the best that they can be. Because it's a reflection on me, it's a reflection on the college, and it's a reflection on the university. Just as you said, we all want to graduate students who are competent when they enter be a professional. We all want to graduate students who can excel when they leave. I also want to graduate students who can be competent in the world, that they have enough other skills that beyond the focus of their degree, that they can.
Revolutionary NBC was good. It's basically a tech school.
Yes. But I've been a part of tech programs and engineering programs for 42 years. And that's always been my goal.
I still have a question. So the student that doesn't care about getting A's or B's, they just want to pass, get C's throughout, doesn't bother me for some reason, because I think everybody has a choice to be average. Because a C is average. So if you just want to be average, and do that, and be happy with who you are. So yeah, it's upsetting because you're like, you can do more, but you can't expect that everybody wants or has that desire to be happy. Like, think about the person that's worked for 30 years at the same company, at the same level, completely happy. Some people really like just to be average. So I always, because it's my perception that you would want A's and B's, I try to remove that out. Like, if you really want to see, you really want to live that life, who am I to tell you that you have to do more? I will encourage you and help you if you want to do more, but if that's what your prerogative is, let it be your prerogative.
Should there be schools that are designed specifically for that kind of student? Because it's not helping anybody excel in their classroom, not helping anybody else. And if there's great effort being put into educating students and all they want is just a degree that's signed, then, like, without any education, if all you want is just a letter grade, then why put so much money and effort into educating them?
There's people that get A's that only care about is
I
getting an A
know,
letter grade
I 100%
and
agree
don't
with
learn
that.
anything.
I 100%
They
agree
just
with that.
regurgitate, and then when they get out in the field, they don't know anything, but they have a 4.0.
I completely agree with that. And
So
I'm
it's
not
not-
saying just the C's, I'm just saying, like, if that's the attitude, like, if it's acceptable to just allow students to get through with a degree, whether it be C's or A's, doesn't matter. If it's acceptable to not be concerned about their education and just be okay with them passing classes, then why not structure education in that way?
I don't think it's the majority nor the goal, but I don't think you should fault someone for wanting to only be average. So if that's what your goal is, okay. I would always tell them that you could probably do more, but I'm not going to be upset or think negatively of them because that's what they want out of their life.
What you could do is you can make it, you can make the curriculum more rigorous to make sure that they work harder in order to get their C.
Exactly.
So in essence, you're preventing it from being average by saying, well, if you go with what you've been doing, trying to be average, you will fail.
You could.
All right. I think you get a feel, hopefully, about perceptions and the impact that those words have. And I was going to do something else, but this is the perception pyramid. And the foundation of our perceptions is what we think. And next one. What we think. And next one, where that. Family, friends, peers, and today, YouTube, internet, and Twitter. And the 17 and 18-year-old is impacted most by what that's up there. Huh?
Hopefully not YouTube comments.
What do you think?
Internet.
Friends.
I still think it's friends and peers.
Okay, it's really the internet.
I would just
the,
statistically
the-
evaluate that.
this is the overall. For young people up to about 12, 13, family and friends have the biggest impact.
Until
Something-
you're a teenager?
Huh?
So until you're a teenager?
Right.
Oh.
Okay? And family is usually number one. And that's their foundation. But once they get out and start exploring the internet, and YouTube is coming on really strong in terms of the images, the information, and a huge chunk of it, incorrect information. Huh?
I just, because, I mean, I guess I'm past, I feel like older, but like YouTube wasn't always around, like I was alive.
Yeah, I know you do.
So like, it's just weird to me that even that would be the thing that would be impactful.
You'd be right,
For
no,
a teen.
at this moment.
I know,
Because
but
friends and peers.
I feel like
I agree,
Facebook would be more impactful over
I would
YouTube,
challenge
which Facebook is still
whatever
family and
specific
friends because
set
those
that.
are who you are friends with on Facebook. Like I would have assumed that over watching videos and things on YouTube.
I still think it's friends and peers. Because your friends and peers affect what you go on YouTube and watch.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
this is
your-
what
yeah,
they
your
self-select.
friends and peers are what you are going to be modeling or changing yourself based on. And that will affect what you do on YouTube, internet, and Twitter. But it all comes back to family, friends, peers.
Well, I think that's why she said it from
This is,
4
these,
to 12 to 13.
Teen,
They
yes.
report that it's their friends and family.
because what,
Yeah, but this was from an actual study.
yes,
How
But
did they
even
tell?
still-
How did
That
they
was a survey.
tell?
It's still in your
Oh,
teens.
was it 7 people?
no,
You're still being changed by your
Was it
family,
online?
friends, peers,
Huh?
and the
Was it
YouTube
online?
and
Yes.
Twitter's just a reflection of that.
That's a little
But
wild.
what if I go out and I explore and I watch something else on YouTube that my family and friends haven't told me to look at, and it's about something that I'm not knowledgeable about, but then the video is full of false things, I might start to believe that. And that starts to shape different things, not that
Yes.
you don't interact with your family and friends anymore, it's just that foreign things or things that you're not used to seeing or experiencing, if my first interaction with it is a YouTube video, I'm gonna think that that was true. Especially at 13, I don't think I had like the skill to question,
And where's
is
this,
this true
where's
or
TV
not?
on my list?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
where's TV?
well, TV wasn't part of this, but the other piece for me that I think has an impact are video games.
Oh yeah, that's another area.
Yeah,
Potentially.
potential. But,
Online interactions in video games, probably
Yeah.
more so than
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
So I think most people play like Grand Theft Auto, realizing that you don't actually go running down the street shooting bazookas at cars. Yeah. I mean, you would hope. But I feel that people can separate video games from real life
Right.
more so than
YouTube.
TV or other things.
all right, so, no, not yet. So our thoughts come from a variety of sources. Okay? Family has the first, and I was surprised that religion wasn't up here, because religion,
Is at the top of that list.
say it again?
So you got to tell us all if Twitter's ever at the top of that
Oh,
list.
yes,
My
yes.
entire
Yeah.
worldview is based on 140 character statements.
But friends, peers, religion, now we have some more things that formulate our thoughts. And
I feel that religion is, I mean, everything can be tied back to family, friends, kids. Like religion is part of your family or your peers.
And
One, yeah,
one of the two.
it's one of the two. And
I think that's why that was probably first, right? They said that that's where they got their,
but then they say like,
And again, remember, this was a survey of 16 and 17-year-olds. Okay, next. And based on what we think, we say. why some people can say poor people are lazy. Because something, family, peers, internet, YouTube videos have put that thought in their head.
I can't imagine they coming from YouTube.
And I'm going to take it to another place. African American students are not as smart as other students. Huh? A thought. The impact of that thought on what that person will say. But next, more important, what that person will do. I can tell you an experience. I'm an African American. Huh? No. No. Biracial, by grandparents on both sides, my father and my mother.
South Africa?
No. U.S. U.S. The chair of my doctoral committee came to me and said I should stop going around telling folks I was black, and that I should tell folks I was Jewish. And went so far.
Are you also Jewish?
No.
That's hilarious.
But went so far as to send me Hanukkah cards and Seder cards and do all kinds of things.
You should also get the 7 gifts for Hanukkah.
Hey. But her thoughts determine what she would say and what she would do. She thought that African Americans would not have as good a chance of succeeding as other students. She thought she was doing me a favor in trying to help me navigate the system. But what she thought, what she said, and what she did had a major impact on my thoughts.
She might have been right. I'm not sure, but she almost grateful to not be a woman. So.
Sorry.
You should have told her that. But.
She was the chair of my committee. I
Probably
would tell her
better
that
for-
after I got my
Exactly.
degree, but not before. But our thoughts determine what we said. And sometimes we aren't even totally aware of what we say and do that impact others. And this is the thing I want you to think about. When you're standing in front of the classroom, when you're interacting with students, what do students see in you in the classroom? What are the clues based on your behavior, based on what you do, are you communicating to the students? What are you telling the students in your classroom? Everything you do communicates to those students in the classroom. Everything. If you're not conscious and think about ahead of time what you want students in your classroom to perceive in you, then the communication is going to be all muddled. Good communication is that the message is received as it was intended. Good communication is the message was received as it was intended. One of my students in class, well, I guess there were 3 of them, came up to me, and I was talking about, what have you learned and what do you think of the class? And it gets back to race. They said, we spent the first 3 weeks trying to figure out if you were black or white. How disappointed was that? I was very. Yes.
You leased it.
Yes. Little things that they focus on that impedes their learning. And for me, I want to have fun in a classroom. Whether it's chemistry, whether it's math, I've taught math, physics, and chemistry. Any of them, I want the students to have fun. I want them to be comfortable with me. I used to joke when I used to do this. I used to say, God gave me 2 big hips so I can rest my hands when they get tired. And I would get a chuckle. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to see me as a person. See me as a person who cared about their learning, whether they only wanted to get C's and get out, whether they only wanted to just be there and get the easiest degree they could get, where they wanted to take that degree and make a difference in their lives and in the lives of the family, whether they wanted a degree and wanted another degree and wanted another degree, so they could impact the world in a positive way. What did they see in you when you stepped in front of the classroom?
2 years ago, I was in a fellowship where I was in a classroom very similar to this one. And for whatever reason, I was at Hughes High School.
Oh,
For whatever reason, one of the students felt comfortable when we came talking about the gun that he had in his backpack. Just like, he didn't have one. He just thought that it was. Clearly that was.
You just thought it was cool?
He was trying to earn my respect by telling me that he had a gun in his backpack, when in fact he didn't. And apparently he didn't perceive me as a teacher or authority figure at that point that could definitely get suspended. Which. Yeah.
Okay. So what we have to do is find, that balance.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how to. I don't know what I was portraying, made you think that I wanted to hear about a fake gun. But
Wow.
the hypothetical, you're right. There probably is.
It was a real
somewhere.
hypothetical. Say you had like a squirt gun.
Okay. What do they see? Our perceptions determine what we learn and what we know. What we learn and what we know. What does that mean?
I think, just like we said earlier on, the way people receive information from family, peers, internet, and all that. I think media, for instance, when I came here newly, you talk to some people and they're like, why do you talk that way? Like I taught some kids in the summer of 2011. It was a program where we had to prepare Cincinnati elementary school kids, teach them math, reading, and all that. And I had this little girl walk up to me and was like, why do you talk that way? Like, she was asking me why I talk the way I talk. I was like, oh, this is the way I talk. I do not come from here. I come from, I told her my country in Africa, and, I grew up speaking English this way, And she actually was surprised to know I came from Africa because she felt Africans don't speak English. Possibly family, peers, whenever, growing up, she felt we speak some maybe native languages and we don't understand English. So her perception of me was, oh, so.
And that's the best example that we can give. What if a student in the class has come from a high school where, because he was silent, respectful, etc., he received good grades? Not necessarily based on what was being taught in the class, but being based on the perception of the teacher that if he's silent, respectful, etc., he must be a good student. What happens to that student when he enters your class?
Fails. It's never needs to happen.
But what could you do to help him succeed?
Give him extra help.
Anybody else?
Entirely depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
But how would you know what's going on with you?
Force them to engage in some way.
Engaging,
Huh?
engaging in like activities in class, making talk and
Mhm.
be more vocal.
Okay. Would you ever seek out a student and ask them to come see you in your office or after class?
As a teacher.
Mhm.
Yes.
So would that be one way? Because if a student isn't prepared for whatever that class is, are there things that he or she could do in that class? Or should he or she take a class before this one to be prepared? And unless you interact in some way, you will never know. You will never know. Okay. And this gets us back to something someone said that is oh so true. Stereotyping refers to generalizations of the characteristics of all members belonging to certain groups. Huh?
That is entirely necessary.
It's
It's entirely necessary. Stereotyping is a very good thing. It's the beauty of it.
Tell me why.
Well, we learn by having categorizations in our brain. That's how our learning structure works. And so in order to address new situations, which are presented all the time, we need to look at as similar situations as possible. And so we do that by stereotyping people and things and situations. And anything that you can encounter, there is some already like a pre-existing prototype that we have to go and associate that with in order for us to understand what's going on. And then as it progresses and makes itself something different, then it can fit into its own categories and deal with it like that. But on first,
Stereotyping is sort of how you teach, and then the person kind of, he adjusts it and changes it based on his own experiences and perceptions.
but in first encounter, you need to have a stereotype. You need to have a prototype. You need to have a stereotype that it can fit into.
You have some
highly
sort of
lost.
base,
Okay, next. Stereotyping takes place based on gender, race, ethnicity, and other traits.
It's assuming that it's just dealing with people. It deals with everything. It's much broader. No, not just like me seeing you for the first time, but like me walking into a building for the first time. You need to stereotype buildings and say, this is typically how it works. If I need to find a bathroom, well, typically, in a structure of a building like this, at least the ones I've been around, there's probably a bathroom around that corner.
Okay, but see, you're taking the definition and putting it somewhere else.
Stereotype, but
Stereotype.
it doesn't just address people. It addresses
Most times
everything.
people use it with people, race,
Yes.
gender and all that. It's different if it's used for maybe concepts, you know, intangible things, but
Well,
people use it in the wrong way.
Yes.
We teach our kids based on stereotypes. It's don't talk to a stranger in a car. And that doesn't mean that all strangers in cars are bad and kidnappers or whatever. But you say, don't do this because it could be, as they grow older, they'll be able to judge better, oh, these people are just asking for directions, but like if this is a suspicious car, the suspicious way the person's acting, I don't talk to them.
And I'm going to vehemently object. I mean vehemently.
I think that's absolutely necessary.
I think that it is necessary to teach young people how to navigate the world. And that there are dangers in the world that must be addressed, faced. To stereotype and say that stereotyping is related to a building, to
It's
finding.
related to everything that you see, everything that you encounter, you have a stereotype already existing.
Yeah, people already start believing things without even experiencing them themselves.
Say that again?
People already start perceiving and believing things without even experiencing them
They
for
become
themselves.
closed-minded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Close-minded is the word, yeah.
Thank you.
That's not necessarily the case. If you stick to stereotypes and force them upon things, like, instead of getting to know that thing, then, like, if you're going into a building and saying, the bathroom's probably over there, and you just go to that room that's probably right there and use the bathroom, it might not be the bathroom, and that's obviously a misuse of a stereotype. But if you're using it just to guide you as you're first getting to know something, then there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually totally essential to learning.
I mean, you're setting a basis for learning.
I will still go back.
As I mean, as the parents always teach the children do not talk to strangers, so they grew up with that notion, but not necessarily they will like. I'll give an example like if you know about couch surfing, you know what couch surfing is? Couch surfing is basically you go and stay at strangers' houses, you
Yeah.
don't even know them at all.
Yeah.
I've been doing that a lot lately, and all the Americans I've talked to, they ask me the first question, aren't you scared about this thing? They're so skeptical, you know, so the stereotype that strangers, they are dangerous. If you don't know anything about them, then you know, trust them.
And I think we have to,
Impacts our
and I think that if we are aware of the stereotypes, but if there's a stereotype that women aren't good in math.
the women don't believe that.
There are a lot of negative stereotypes. There's actual evidence now that supports that there is absolutely no basis for that. It was actually believed for a long time that there was a basis for that, that on average, like the average woman wasn't as adept because of whatever reason. They've completely disproven that now. But yeah, it was like scientifically believed for a long time.
And that was a stereotype.
Well, it was supported by bad evidence.
Yeah. But it still was a
On
stereotype.
top of being a stereotype, it was a
Yes.
stereotype.
And it had an impact on women. And it had an impact on women.
I don't know that it was entirely not caused by women not going into science fields.
I had a teacher who told me I didn't have a scientific mind.
Okay.
You know, and my goal was to be a theoretical chemist. And I did really well in chemistry, biology, math, all of those subjects.
assuming that women aren't, on average, stereotypically not good at math, not true. But assuming that this is the case, individual cases don't change that as a fact.
True.
So, yeah, I mean, first off, someone telling you that you shouldn't go into that because you're a woman is ridiculous, because that just means they misunderstand what a stereotype is, or what an average statistic is.
But the person, if you're a professor, or you are a teacher, okay, and you tell someone something like that,
Well, you should, because that's a misunderstanding of what the stereotype is.
Use the
there for.
stereotype to survey your classroom, make initial judgments, but you keep them to yourself until you understand your actual students. I mean, you can go in, and if you are presented with 30 new people, is it better to have a stereotype of the classroom in general, just to like sort of get an understanding of your classroom, or
so
just
you
go
would
in and
say,
say, I don't know
well,
what
these
anyone
African
knows, I don't
American
know
students
anything.
aren't as smart, and the women aren't going to be as good in math, but all these males, the Asians are going to be super in my class. Are that the kind of stereotypes you? How are you going to segregate your class based on your stereotypes? Tell me.
Because you make judgment.
Tell me. You've got a class of 30 students. Okay.
Okay.
Tell
The
me
kid-
how you're going to
the kid hanging
stereotype
out of
that
his
class.
chair and yelling
No,
is
I'm
probably
wait,
not
no,
going to be a
no.
good student.
Yes, come on. Tell me how you're going to stereotype them.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you said. You can look at their body language. You don't stereotype. I mean, at this stage, at this stage in our life, we don't stereotype based on like as much on race or things, because we have experiences that we have evolved beyond those. We stereotype more based on how they look, or like how they act, how they their body language. That's where most of our initial stereotypes come coming. So if a kid is hanging out of his chair, if a kid is, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to go in there and say, all right, all the Asians over here, you guys are going to be math majors. All the women, you need to learn home ec. You know, that's not what you're.
I think stereotypes are really wrong as a professor, because it will affect your judgment in dealing with the students somehow. I just think so.
But everyone makes them as soon as they walk into a room.
They're inevitable. You can't even
Yeah.
say not to have them.
And,
You can't not have them.
and the whole reason for what we have done today is for you to think about the stereotypes that you bring to every classroom.
And that's entirely valid. You can't avoid the stereotypes. You
Yeah.
can't avoid using them, but
You need to be aware of it.
You need to be aware of it.
Well, you need to be aware of it and then how they affect you acting, but also, instead of just resting on a stereotype or an initial perception, that perception should grow with more information. Like the first information that you get is where you form your stereotype, and then as you get to know that person or that thing or that place or whatever it is better, then your perception needs to change accordingly.
My thing is that you have no idea yet of the impact that you standing in front of a classroom will have on the students who are seated in front of you. And what you bring to the class, I'm not talking about your knowledge of engineering or math or chemistry or any of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about what you bring as an individual, what you think, what you say, and what you do that will change their lives forever. What you say and what you do will change those lives forever.
I have a story about that. Definitely when I was getting my master's degree, I had a professor who clearly stereotyped me because I went to the office hours and said I would like some extra help. I'm in master's, we're in grad school, so I'm like semester long. And he said, I don't have time to help you because you come late to class, I was never late, and you have children, and you have to catch the bus to get here. Don't have kids, drive my own car, I was never late to his class. But that's what he said to me, and then proceeded to say, it's not that I don't like black people, I love all races. The Asian kids and the Indian kids, we get along fine, but I don't have time to help you today. That was totally what he said, and I don't think he still understands the impact that has. I'm thankful that I'm older, but he teaches undergraduate level classes and graduate level classes, so that's his perception of black women. That we have kids ride the bus and that we always need extra help and he just doesn't have time for that. But he's not racist because he likes the Indian and Asian kids.
I want you to think of what you're communicating. When you stereotype, know what your stereotypes are. Know the message that you want to send, and then be sure that it is received as you intended. It's vital for student learning. It's vital for students to gain as much as they can from all that knowledge that you have. If they feel from the moment they walk in that you don't care about them, you disrespect them, you've built a barrier so high.
But is
To
that
compare
me
them.
stereotyping them or them stereotyping
Both.
me?
Both.
They do both.
Both.
Yeah.
But
so
you're the adult in the room.
I
And the authority figure.
understand that, but like,
All I want you to do is to think about it. I want you to think about it. Think about the role that you play in a classroom. Next. And this is, I don't want you to, can I still do my paper, the paper? I want you to, not a big thing. Can perceptions become stereotypes? And what impact can that change have on learning in the classroom? Oh, no, this is out of class, a short paper.
Oh,
Just do a 2-page double space.
Yeah.
Isn't that what normally they are?
Mhm.
Maybe there's single space.
Okay? So I want you to think about perceptions, stereotypes, okay? And the impact they can have on the classroom that you're teaching.
can you send out an email?
Can I say
Yeah.
a question? PVD?
Yeah, I'll do it,
Yeah.
okay? There was a, and we didn't get to do it, but there's if I want it to be true, it must be true. Jury perceptions. And I use this in terms of thinking about what you write. And this story about juries and their perceptions and how that applies in your classroom. Okay, so there. For that. And there are two articles, and I'll talk to Ms. Gaskin. And one, it's an article, it's called A Different Kind of Classroom. And the other is taking a look at online course effectiveness, an analysis of student interactions and perceptions of learning. And they both tie to what we've covered today. I want to end with a passionate plea. Because we need trained scientists and engineers in this country. You know, anything technology right now. We have students who come from a variety of backgrounds, with a variety of skills, with a variety of talents. And you know, there are students who had 36 on their ACTs and still didn't succeed. And there are students who came with the bare minimum who did very well. And I want you to think of your role as a professor at a university, whether it's Notre Dame, whether it's Harvard, whether it's, you know, Piney Bluff College. Do your expectations change because of they can afford to go to Harvard, where only the elite go?
Extremely expensive.
And it's, well,
No, it's extremely inexpensive.
oh, inexpensive. Harvard?
Yeah, they give, yeah.
Oh, they
give-
get scholarships.
Yeah, no, well, yeah,
And
they,
legacy.
yeah. They give.
But irregardless, you're taking the focus away.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna let you do that at the end. No matter where you teach, are your expectations of your students going to be the same? The Pygmalion effect. Professors, teachers who have high expectations produce students who succeed more than the globals. Low expectations. And because the student went to Piney Bluff and comes to UC in a graduate program, doesn't mean that student could not, should not be as successful as every other student that enters the classroom. Because when we do that, then we go out in the world and perceive everyone who is not like us less than us. That the student who graduated from Piney Bluff certainly couldn't be as smart as the student who graduated from Harvard. The student who got a business degree certainly couldn't be as smart as a student who graduated from engineering. A student who texts in front of a classroom. So, you never know. But the same, the interactions, huh?
Yes.
Hey, but that's what happened.
Searching for.
Perfect example. I'm a professor, I see. He may be between a B and an A. Guess what I'm gonna probably give? So, yes. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You took the last one down.
I didn't put it back up.
Okay.
There's not.
Yes.
I'd like to see the picture.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's our keyboard.
I took the batteries out of the remote.
Let's go down to the last one. Okay. And I don't know how many of you have seen this one. Yeah. I'm turning into my mother. And depending on your perspective, you get it?
I still don't see it.
Okay.
You don't see
The
the.
collar,
Well,
collar
first
is
of
the
all,
mouth.
this is
Oh, I know.
the mother in one case, and this is the beautiful daughter right here. But if you look closely, this is the nose and the mouth of the evil kind of looking
Oh, I see.
lady.
I can see him now.
Yes.
Back.
Huh?
Is there?
No, there's no,
No.
that, the one on the left says.
Yeah.
Alright.
Stays the
There's
same.
nothing here, but it's, this
This
is
is,
the
Oh,
nose,
okay,
yes,
there.
and this is the
yes,
mouth.
Big no, okay.
This is like a hat,
yeah.
her hair, or this is her chin and her neck, and that's a choker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took me a
So,
minute. I was like, oh.
You only look at the beautiful girl.
I know, it was. I was like, oh.
okay. The last slide is just to help you remember what you perceive. Do you see in your class 2 beautiful students? Or do you see in your class beautiful students and other kinds of looking people? I want you to think about it and really know that what you do can change lives and make a difference. Thanks. I was